Feeling.
Question 2. What argument does Picasso in his painting Guernica make? How does the form, content, historical, and personal context in the painting support his argument? So, first of all, over there. You can see a ton of things like the bull, the horse, all the people, and you can see it's very distorted, and that's something Picasso used a lot in a bunch of his paintings, and that's basically showing how it's pretty much like crazy and how this war is just kind of making everything go like insane. Not like insane, but they're like panicking. And let's see. With the bull, they basically, I want to say glorified, but it was like a tradition for bullfights to have the bull like basically die at the end. And they were, what's the word? It's not glorifying. It's like
sacrifice?
Like
honor,
sacred or no.
Like a tradition?
Yeah, like a tradition. And so basically the war was killing so many people that it related back to the bull. It was just becoming so often that people were dying that it was almost like the bullfight, that it would just, the bull would die every time, and like in the war, the people would die as well. For the personal context, Picasso was really angry because this was one of his first paintings that had to do with political perspectives, and he did not want to paint for politics. He always wanted to paint for himself. He never wanted to do commissions and everything. So you can tell that like the sharp lines and also just like the facial expressions on the different animals, people can tell that he was pretty much like angry. He was angry about the war for his people, but he was also angry that he had to change his purpose for painting. And
It's pretty good.
I'm sorry. I'll toss it.
Yeah, you better.
All right. So I took it a step deeper.
oh, come on. Thanks. Yeah.
I said it in this cubism form of artistic style, his own style that he created himself throughout trials and tribulations. He uses various symbols and drawings to depict a message, a deeper meaning towards his paintings. It's more than just a painting, but I would count it as a philosophy. Yeah, a reflection of his own emotion, belief, and his own point of view. As you can tell by Guernica, it was his own reflection and point of view that he expressed throughout the colors, the sharp lines as Sydney mentioned, the facial expressions as Sydney mentioned. That's how he was feeling himself towards that political situation. And he decided to put that on a canvas to show towards other people. And I think that's the reason it cannot be duplicated, because you cannot duplicate one's emotions. Another artist cannot duplicate another's emotions. So that's why I feel like Cubism in itself as a whole is specifically for Picasso himself.
Wow, very good.
Okay, the reason why I want to set this up is because I love it so much. And sorry, do I have to look? Can I just look at the picture?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so, I like analyzing art, but when I look at this piece, when you see the harsh, jagged lines, it demonstrates how harsh this time period was for people. And and then you see just, Picasso thought was a light, what kind of looks like an eye, and you see a light bulb. Well, he's demonstrating just kind of this, like the vastness, like the contrast between light and dark, and how there's so much dark consuming everyone, and in the light, it almost looks evil, and how it's really hard to see. But then you see the light of an arm holding, in a candlelight, and then like this basically, what he's trying to say, like not really within reach, and I guess you could say there's times where it was dark for most people, and basically the painting is in a scale of grays. Let's see, there's just I know that in his personal life, because like you said, like with emotions, there's conflict with wives and mistresses and things like that, and which also went into the ink of the painting, and also like his people that were dying in these trial bombs, like in all of these practices, and just killing hundreds and thousands of innocent people.
So when I look at Guernica, I don't see it as much as an argument, but more of a story of those who suffered in the bombing. Because, he wasn't really there, and there weren't very many survivors. So it was hard to tell the true story, but I believe Picasso did everything that he could to portray what he felt. For like, if you look in the painting, for example, on the far left side, there is a mother cradling her baby, which seems to have died within the tragic incident. And I feel that is him depicting the story of the losses that were held at this horrible event. And if you look towards the bottom, there's more of a severed arm grasping a broken sword, which I believe is him depicting the sword of the rebellion against Franco and everybody that was trying to smite him down. All the spirits during this event were broken, which I believe was foreshadowed by the sword being broken. And it's really hard to tell in the middle. It looks like a lot of people jumbled up together, a lot of severed body parts everywhere. It's more of just him depicting the true horrors that these people faced, that nobody would truly know how these people went through this event. Just having to learn, everybody around them having to learn to live on with this just happening during their own lifetime, people that they might have known dead. And I felt like he didn't try and really portray as much of an argument as he was just trying to honor those that have fallen in this bombing.
I'll say to Jonathan in a second. I'm just going with you two guys, so I'm trying to keep it like right now. So just going with what Kelly and Isaac right here said. I knew the name. I just wanted to. All right. So as Kelly mentioned on the picture, we can see a hand just like grabbing a light on top of all this mess of like the bodies, the people crying, and all this darkness or like the black that he used around it. When Kelly mentioned it, I hadn't thought about it before, but when she mentioned it, I felt like the painting was not only showing what happened on Guernica, but more like showing like this darkness in the world that's like pretty much everything covered, and then this event that happened that like went around the world and everybody heard about it. I feel like that's what's putting the light on the picture. So like now this small part of like the whole darkness in the image is like being light by it, and now we can like actually recognize that the world's not just perfect and that we have good things, but that all these bad things happen even though we don't notice it, even though it's just like covered by a black curtain, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's what I thought about it was the question too.
And what Jonathan, Angel, Eduardo, and Mancuana get special treatment because they're wearing the Picasso stripes.
Oh my god.
Right? That Picasso always wore shirts like that, right, with the stripes.
So, in his painting Guernica, and expanding kind of what Kelly said with the light and the white part of it being a little bit evil, my take on that is that's the government and the people, the fascist takeover that's going on right before the war, and they're standing by idly, letting their people die while just watching, and they let this bombing happen. And in 1937, when the fascist takeover was going on, people were fighting back against it, but they just couldn't actually do anything, which I believe also symbolizes the broken sword and the hand. And the bull, I think, is just showing that even the biggest and the most like honorary creatures, nothing was spared from it. Everything was was just destroyed, and the blackness, I think, is more of just the ash, just the piles of dust from incinerated bodies and everything like that from the bombing runs. And I think he was just trying to draw attention to the fact that this was happening because of people standing by idly watching.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think that with this style, he's trying to show, like Isaac and everybody else said, the panic that's just going on during that, and just the overall despair.
Wow. Very good.
I think what Picasso's argument was to demonstrate how no one was actually paying attention to what was going on in his painting Guernica. So he wanted to demonstrate it by using a lot of different figures and cubism. And like Kelly and everybody else mentioned, that there's some light. And for me, I thought the light bulb signified hope, because there's some light that's being portrayed in the art. And like everybody else is saying, the bull was like sacred, and then they used to kill him at the end because it was tradition. But I think that that was another example of how awful the world can be to everybody, and any creature that's living, like Jonathan was saying, that no one is actually protected, and that you have to live your life always having to be on edge, thinking about what's gonna happen in the world. And I think also in the portrait there's a horse, which could also symbolize how the people were trying to get away from this, and as they were trying to get away, escape with their horses, they couldn't make it out alive. And with the other people around the horse, it signified how harsh it was, because they were competing against something that they didn't know that was going to happen, that they were struggling because they were innocent people that didn't know what was going on. And it was cruel how they took the war to them, and they were unprepared, and everybody was innocent. They didn't know where to run to, who to cry for help. And in a way, I feel like there's a face in the top left corner, top right corner. No, it's left, sorry. Where it's like a face looking down at it. I think that's Picasso represented in it, because he's looking at what everybody's talking about, what the article is writing, and what he's imagining is going on. Because in his personal experience, he doesn't know, he didn't have the personal experience to be there, to feel the actual pain, the anger. And so he demonstrated it with all these people crying out for help. Like, for example, like they said before, I can't remember who said it, but it was the woman with the baby held in her hands. She's really distraughted in it, because she didn't know that her baby was going to die at a young age, and her having to live through that, it's really painful, because you can't go back on what has happened because of the war. And he wanted to demonstrate how awful this was really like for them, and he couldn't do anything else but paint the beautiful picture, Guernica.